Remember to like the video, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to keep up with our latest stories. The rain poured relentlessly, a familiar beat against the roof and windows that typically calmed me, yet that afternoon it struck a dissonant chord. It echoed the frantic beating within my own heart. David, my husband, has been gone for almost 3 years. The rawness of my grief has dulled, yet loneliness still creeps in, particularly on days like today, confined indoors with only the dreary light and the relentless storm as my companions. Curled up on the sofa, I feigned interest in a novel, but my gaze was drawn to the drenched garden where the roses sagged, burdened by the relentless rain. The house loomed vast and silent. The silence was suffocating. It weighed down, resonating with memories and silent emotions. I longed for the effortless bond, the quiet moments that held meaning, the warmth of not facing solitude in that space. I exhaled sharply, tucking a rebellious strand of hair behind my ear. At 52, I found myself trapped between the pages of my life, uncertain of what the next chapter would reveal. The kids had grown and left, each absorbed in their own hectic lives. I felt a swell of pride for them, yet their absence deepened the silence of my days. Then came a knock, soft yet unmistakable. It took me by surprise. Visitors seldom appeared, particularly on a bleak Tuesday afternoon. At first, I wondered if it was Carol from next door needing to borrow something. But then the knock came again, sharper, more insistent. I set my book aside, my heart racing with a mix of curiosity and an inexplicable dread. I approached the door, adjusting my sweater, and glanced through the peephole. It wasn't her. It was him, Thomas Harrison from just 2 houses down. I barely knew him. For years, we shared fleeting waves and brief conversations about the weather or neighborhood gossip while collecting our mail. He was a solitary figure, withdrawn and enigmatic, perhaps just a few years my senior. He had been there longer than David and me, always in solitude, or so I believed. He appeared soaked to the bone. Rain clung to his graying hair, slicking it against his forehead. Dripping from the brim of the old baseball cap, it hung low over his eyes. His shoulders drooped, and in his hand he clutched a small metallic object, endlessly twisting it between his fingers. He stared at his feet, shifting nervously on my welcome mat, which must have felt like a sponge beneath him. With trembling hands, I turned the deadbolt and edged the door open, the safety chain holding me back just a moment longer. "Thomas, is everything okay?" My voice emerged, rough and forgotten. He glanced up, eyes wide, caught off guard, as if he had never truly believed someone would respond. His eyes, once a clear blue, now held a storm, dark and turbulent like the sky before a tempest. Rainwater streamed down his cheeks, blending with something far more poignant. The dim, rainy light made it nearly impossible to see. "Oh, hello, Clara," he murmured, his voice a gravelly whisper. He swallowed hard. "I apologize for intruding. I'm truly sorry. This is just so embarrassing." He raised the object, his grip tightening around it. A house key, shattered in 2, lay on the floor, a silent testament to what was lost. He mumbled, "Locked myself out," his gaze fixed on the shattered key, a mix of frustration and despair in his eyes. "The phone's in there. The wallet's in there." In a moment of frustration, I broke the key while desperately jiggling the lock. Foolish, I realize. He forced a faint smile, but it fell short, leaving his eyes hollow and distant. His posture revealed a vulnerability, a reluctance to meet my gaze, stirring something deep within me. He stood there in the downpour, a picture of despair and confusion. "Oh, Thomas, that's awful," I murmured, pulling the chain away and swinging the door open wider. "Step inside, away from the pouring rain before it claims you." He paused, glancing back at his shadowy home down the street, uncertainty gripping him. "I hesitate to intrude," he began, droplets of rain cascading from his chin. Utter nonsense. I stood my ground, refusing to move back. "Step inside now. We'll find a way. Text, use my phone. Call a locksmith now." He crossed the threshold, the scent of rain and damp earth flooding my hallway. He stood on the mat, water pooling around him, gripping the shattered key pieces tightly, a testament to his mistakes. He seemed smaller inside, somehow lessened without the wild, tempestuous scenery behind him. His typical calm was overshadowed by an intense, palpable exhaustion. "Thank you, Clara," he said, locking his gaze with mine at last. A profound weariness lingered, far surpassing the mere ordeal of being stranded in the rain. It was disturbing yet captivating. A spark ignited within me, something deeper than mere neighborly worry. It struck with a piercing clarity, raw and immediate. I understood the sensation of being lost, even if the reasons were not the same. The stillness of the house shifted, electrified by his sudden arrival. I closed the door, blocking the storm's fury, leaving only the soft drip of Thomas's soaked jacket on the mat and the erratic beat of my own breath. I offered a towel, my voice steady despite the unsettling flutter in my stomach, and suggested coffee or tea to ease the moment. He brushed his damp hair back, his cap falling away, exposing a surprising amount of gray that struck me hard. "A cup of coffee would be amazing, thank you if you don't mind." His voice was soft, laced with a hint of regret. "No trouble at all," I promised him as I moved toward the kitchen. "Settle in and let the moment embrace you." As comfortable as one can feel while drenched to the bone. I turned to see him lingering by the door, uncertainty etched on his face as if he were lost in a world of indecision. Behind those troubled eyes lay a story, and I was certain of it now. More than a shattered key lies beneath the surface. A part of me, long dormant, stirred with a surprising, fragile curiosity about the story that awaited discovery. The rain pounded mercilessly outside, yet within the silence had transformed. It was filled with something profound. A tense silence hung in the air, brimming with unspoken possibilities. He removed his soaked jacket, placing it meticulously on the hook by the door at my urging. Now, he sat rigidly on the edge of the armchair by the window, cradling the mug of coffee I had prepared for him. He dried his hair and face with the towel I gave him, yet his clothes clung to him, damp and uncomfortable. He hesitated, unsure about leaning back against the chair's fabric. I sat on the sofa across from him, my mug held tightly in my hands, the novel abandoned on the cushion beside me. The tension hung in the air, broken only by the sharp clink of his mug on the saucer and the unyielding rhythm of the rain. He expressed his gratitude once more for the coffee, his eyes wandering to the window, to his home, a mere shadow behind the blurred glass. "Do you want to call a locksmith right now?" "Text," I asked softly, shattering the stillness. "I can find one for you." He slowly shook his head, his gaze fixed on the window. "Not now. Perhaps I should hold on a little longer, wait for the rain to ease." His voice remained low, laced with the same exhaustion I'd sensed at the door. The answer took me by surprise. Many would feel a surge of anxiety at the thought of returning home. His hesitation weighed heavily. "Do you really mean that?" I pressed gently. Their arrival in this weather might be delayed. His eyes found mine once more. The troubled look lingered, perhaps even deeper now that he was sheltered from the elements. "It's okay, Clara. Truthfully, there's nothing pressing calling me back inside." He whispered, yet the words lingered, thick with meaning. It was a confession, hidden yet raw. His tone resonated with my own experiences of grief and loneliness. I felt the emptiness of a house, mere walls and furniture, devoid of refuge. I chose to let the locksmith matter go. I sipped my coffee, searching for a new way forward. The weather was brutal, I pointed out, the truth hanging heavy in the air. "Feels like it has taken root for the day." He nodded, his finger grazing the rim of the mug, lost in thought. "Truly does. Numbers. Of all days today." "Oh," I maintained a tone that was warm and welcoming, yet never pushy. He paused, staring into his coffee, as if the swirling cream might reveal the truth he desperately sought. "It would have been my anniversary today," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Our wedding anniversary." The air grew heavy. In an instant his presence loomed, his hesitation palpable, his wet clothes clinging to him, and his troubled eyes piercing through the haze. This was more than a shattered key. "Oh, Thomas," I gasped, my heart constricting with deep empathy. "I deeply regret this. I had no idea you were married." A long time ago, he managed a faint, sad smile. "Clara's gone. 15 years have passed. 15 years. For 15 years he had lived in that house down the street, burdened by the weight of his solitude and the ache of his loss. For a decade, I had been blind to the truth, sharing casual words over the fence, unaware of the profound history and heartache hidden beneath his silent exterior. I was completely unaware. I spoke with heartfelt sincerity, acknowledging just how profoundly challenging that must be, particularly in this moment. He nodded, his gaze drifting elsewhere, yet this time it seemed more like a deep dive into the self than mere evasion. Some years cut deeper than others. This year weighs on me. I planned to visit her at the cemetery, but the rain fell hard, and then the key betrayed me. He shook his head. A storm of frustration and sadness etched across his features. It felt like everything had finally reached its breaking point. You know, I was aware of anniversaries that stole your breath away. I understood those days when minor annoyances loomed large, overshadowed by a grief that lingered, never fully fading away. I understand, I whispered, my husband, David, it's been nearly 3 years for me. Thomas glanced up, surprise flickering in his eyes before they softened with a deep understanding. Oh, Clara, I can't believe this happened. In that moment, a delicate connection blossomed between us, bridging the gap from the sofa to the armchair. In a quiet neighborhood, two souls lived side by side, each burdened by their own grief. It took a broken key and a rainy Tuesday to unveil the shared pain that connected us, drawing our paths together at last. It's all right, I promised him, my voice steady yet filled with unspoken weight. It's a part of life, isn't it? Mastering the art of facing the anniversaries, the still moments. He locked eyes with me, and in that fleeting instant, an unspoken understanding surged between us. The air was thick with a silent bond, no longer awkward but charged with unspoken connection. He spoke, his voice gaining a fragile steadiness. You understand. Sometimes the silence of the house feels overwhelming. Yes, I confessed, particularly on days like this. He sipped his coffee, tension easing just a bit as he leaned back in the chair. The rain outside faded into a soft murmur, a quiet witness to the unexpected closeness blossoming in my living room. He didn't just bring the rain indoors. He brought a connection, a raw vulnerability that struck a chord within me. We lingered in silence, but it felt charged, heavy with unspoken words. Full of thought, yet deeply reflective. It was oddly intimate, a surprising warmth blossoming between us despite our near stranger status just moments before. Thomas appeared adrift, his eyes far away, yet the weight on his shoulders had lifted. I watched him closely, hidden in the shadows of my thoughts. The lines around his eyes told stories. A slight tremor in his hand gripped the coffee mug tightly, and his quietness felt less like distance and more like a fragile barrier forged from years of deep, solitary sorrow. I couldn't shake thoughts of Clara, of the life they had woven together in that house just down the street. 15 years weighed heavy, a relentless grip of sorrow. Did you both share that house? I whispered, shattering the stillness that enveloped us. Fear gripped me, wondering if I was crossing a line, yet the raw openness between us beckoned a softer, deeper curiosity. He glanced up, an unsettling calm in his eyes as if the question held no weight. We did, he confirmed, a fleeting smile of nostalgia flickering across his lips. We purchased it right after our wedding. We did it ourselves for the most part. Her heart belonged to the garden. His gaze wandered back to my window, haunted by memories of his own garden, the one Clara had cherished. She possessed an extraordinary gift for nurturing life, primarily roses. Classic names that slipped through my mind like whispers in the wind. The summer air was filled with an intoxicating aroma from the backyard. He spoke of her with a hushed reverence, a blend of love and lingering sorrow. Her image lingered, nurturing her roses, her essence echoing in the now quiet house. That sounds beautiful, I replied with genuine warmth. Mike David tended this garden. I give it my all, yet most days I barely hold back the chaos within me. He let out a soft chuckle, real and heartfelt. It brought a faint warmth to the room. Clara always claimed I had a black thumb, unable to keep even a cactus alive. We exchanged a few more words about gardens and the neighborhood, reflecting on how much had shifted through the years. The conversation flowed effortlessly, ignited by the common ground we uncovered. He inquired about David and my children, his focus unwavering as I shared their stories. My voice trembled as I spoke of how deeply I missed the sounds that once filled our home. He provided no empty words or false reassurances. He simply listened with a deep empathy that resonated more profoundly than any hollow condolences I'd encountered. He grasped the terrain of grief like few could. In our conversation, I felt a quiet transformation within him. He appeared lighter, the sharpness I had witnessed before fading into a deep, quiet sorrow. Revealing even the smallest pieces of his story felt like a release, a momentary easing of the weight he carried. The rain started to relent, its frantic drumming fading into a tender whisper. The gray light outside flickered with a hint of intensity. Thomas's eyes darted back to the window, a storm of thoughts brewing within him. It seems like relief is just around the corner. He watched intently. Perhaps I need to consider that locksmith. Time stands still. I spoke hastily, taken aback by the unexpected heaviness of his departure. The sudden bond transformed the solitary afternoon, catching me completely off guard. Unless you must return. He shook his head, a silent storm brewing within. No, as I mentioned, it's not urgent. He stopped, his gaze piercing through me with intensity. Thank you, Clara, for the coffee and for being there to listen. It's been ages since I last spoke of Claire. The rain faded to a soft drizzle, the clouds parting just enough for a pale afternoon light to seep through. Thomas knew the moment had come to call the locksmith. I discovered the number for a nearby company, and he dialed it, his voice steady and composed, setting up for someone to arrive. As he hung up, he thanked me once more, his eyes now radiating a warmth that had been absent when he first arrived, soaked and troubled. They mentioned it could take around an hour. He stood up, stretching slightly, and said I should head back, wait for them outside. You don't need to stay out there. I fought back. Text, stay here a moment longer, sip on another coffee. He smiled, a genuine smile that lit up his eyes, crinkling the corners with warmth. Thank you, Clara. I believe I can manage from here. A breath of fresh air could be just what I need. After being trapped indoors, he gathered the shattered key fragments, contemplating a walk by the cemetery later if the rain holds off. I missed my chance this morning, but perhaps the afternoon still holds hope. His voice held a quiet resolve, a renewed sense of purpose echoing within. It echoed the essence of our conversation. Sharing his grief, having it recognized, became a lifeline, guiding him through the day's emotional storm. He stepped into the hallway, searching for his damp jacket, a reminder of the storm that had just passed. He hesitated, glancing back at me as he slipped it on. Clara. He started, then faltered, grasping for the perfect words. Today was hard, arriving at your doorstep like that. I lost who I was. Thank you for your kindness, for looking beyond the clumsy neighbor who broke his key. Thomas, I whispered, locking eyes with him. We all face those moments when all we crave is for someone to simply unlock the door. Being here filled me with a profound sense of gratitude. He nodded, a brief flash of his earlier vulnerability surfacing, now intertwined with a deep sense of gratitude. Same here. He swung open the front door, and a rush of cool, damp air surged into the hall, carrying the fresh, earthy scent left by the rain. The sun struggled to pierce the clouds in the west, casting frail shadows over the drenched pavement. He stepped onto the porch, a weight in his voice. I guess I'll see you around, neighbor. Goodbye, Thomas. Until next time. I replied, a warmth igniting within me, unrelated to the coffee in my hands. I observed him move down the path, shoulders squared, each step filled with determination. He paused at the sidewalk, offering a fleeting wave before disappearing toward his home. I shut the door and pressed my back against it, the stillness of the house enveloping me once more. Yet now it felt transformed, less hollow, more serene. The encounter was unexpected, yet deeply human. There was no grand drama or unbelievable twist, just a quiet unfolding of shared experience, mutual respect, and the surprising comfort of simple kindness. Connection can flourish in the most unexpected moments, often when we least anticipate it, yet desperately require it. As I glanced at the 2 coffee mugs lingering in my living room, a wave of quiet transformation washed over me. The loneliness that once enveloped me faded, giving way to a fragile flicker of hope. Perhaps the next chapter isn't filled with grand adventures or sweeping romances, but rather the profound significance of small connections. It's about opening the door, both literally and figuratively, To those who share this tiny corner of the world, the rain had finally ceased, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. A bird began to sing, its tentative notes breaking the silence. For the first time in ages, the silence transformed from emptiness into a canvas, poised to embrace whatever life dared to offer next. The surprising neighbor, the shattered key, the fleeting moment on a stormy afternoon. It may not have been monumental, but it stirred something deep within me, a lingering echo of the profound